Rick Fisher, Assistant Superintendent for Instruction, Allen County Schools in Kentucky. Well, as the Assistant Superintendent for Instruction, I'm responsible for instructional plan, curriculum, professional learning, evaluation system, pretty much anything to do with instructional needs topics. This is our first year of using it for evaluations. We've been using it for applications and hiring for a couple of years, 3 years. I lose track of that time. Well, Kentucky had its own system and their own platform, so we were using the Kentucky State platform, SITS. They got rid of the platform, and they freed up some of the requirement. There's still some parameters, and I think those parameters are going to get tight again from just listening to them. We thought there was going to be a lot of freedom in this, and it seems like there's a little less freedom when they finish up with it, but I guess that's always the way it goes. Well, I was searching for a new platform. I really wanted to streamline our instructional practices. We have to keep the Danielson framework model sort of close at hand and operate amongst those performance standards of ineffectiveness, developing, accomplished, and exemplary. So that's a structure we have to keep no matter what happens. But I really wanted to use some of the instructional training tools that we have been using with all of our teachers in district for a few years now, which really line up to Danielson's framework. They're not different things, but how can we use the language that we use to work with teachers and coach teachers is not evident in our evaluation system. And so I really wanted to, and I streamlined all this stuff and connected it together, but it wasn't connected to the evaluation system necessarily. And so my goal was to sort of find a way to make the language of the evaluation system the same language that we're out here coaching teachers on and working with them day to day in their classrooms. And so we've had the freedom now to sort of do that. And I needed a platform to build that in. And we looked around at some different things, of which I couldn't even tell you what we've looked at. Brought on to Talent Ed. We were already using the product, so we had some familiarity with it. And I did a couple of webinars, at least, and looked at some of the tools. And it seemed like you had a pretty simple. We wanted something simple. We've had enough complications in all this. And so I liked the tools that they shared with me. I had principals look at it. They also thought the structure of the platform was good. So we decided to go with you based on those reviews, really. It was. It gave us sort of the flexibility to sort of build it the way we wanted to accommodate that instructional pieces that I'm talking about. And though that's still in the works, we don't have that exactly done the way we want it to look just yet. We got off the ground and running for this year. Well, to be honest with you, our implementation was a little bit rocky, but that's well documented with other members of your organization. There was a little confusion in the beginning about who was going to do what. I thought that you were going to, I was going to supply all the materials, and someone was going to build this for me. And it turned out with my coordinator, she told me, no, that's not what you signed on to do. Oh, well, I guess I misunderstood. Anyway, I ended up talking to my rep at that time, and she did a little checking on things and said, since you were trying to pilot this and do some things, then we'll do 3 pieces for you. We'll build 3 pieces for you. So I had asked my consultant to build the reflection document, the walkthrough document, and the observation document. And we were supposed to have this done by the time school started, August 10th. That was a timeline I set up front. I wanted to have this done. I don't think I went online with it until late September. And I ended up building 2 of those 3 pieces that you were going to build, your company was going to build. I built them myself. The one that my representative built was the reflection document. Turns out it was done incorrectly, so it didn't work. And so that it was pretty much useless. The good news of all that is that having had to go in and build those things myself, I learned how to use the system to some degree. I won't claim to be an expert about it, but I did learn how to go about manipulate, which helped me troubleshoot problems that came up. Certainly, I've used the help desk a bunch, and they're fantastic. I got nothing but great things to say about your help desk. You pick up the phone, you dial it, somebody answers, and somebody has an answer to help you out. That's fantastic. So the support's been really good. And I've had some follow-up conversations with Kristen Connor. Kristen called me asking me how it was going. I told her the story I just told you. I'm really trying to build something I think is different with this reflection document. And I've gotten some permission from the Department of Education to sort of go out and try this out. The other thing I learned, let me back up a little bit. The other thing I learned when I learned how to use the system, because I had to do it myself, the other thing I learned about the system is the reflection document was messed up. I mean, like it had the wrong stuff in spots. It was blank in place. I mean, it was just like the words were like it wouldn't even make any sense in some places. But it's a large rubric, so it's not something like you can just look at it and glance at it and go, "Oh, that's wrong." And you know what? All the teachers down in the county, there's 250 of them. All of them did it, and nobody said a word about it. And so what this proves to me is that evaluation is a compliance task. There is nothing. People are just checking off the bottom. You get this done, do this, and get it done with it, and be done with it. It just proves that these evaluation systems are compliance tasks. They're compliance tasks for everybody. Principals are just trying to get their observations done, so I can check that off. And teachers are just trying to get their observation over with, so they can forget about it till next year. And that's the nature of evaluation systems. So I have a grand plan to sort of help reel that in, I hope. And which is where your company comes back in. And Kristen Connor has assigned me a new representative who's going to help me rebuild this reflection document. And I can't, apparently I don't have the rights to be able to do it because you have to go in. We wanted to go in and take a statement. For example, all his kids in discussions during class. Now, that's not one, but it's a simple statement. And then we have a rubric for that at different levels of complexity that might have. And it might be 4 or 5 different levels to that. None of them bad. None of them are, ineffective, as Kentucky would like to call it, ineffective. I would say more they're novice. Here's or basic. And then they go up to exemplary practice, where you really have some in-depth work going on with kids and discussions. The kids are able to ask each other questions. This happens without your prompting, that kind of thing. And so in this reflection document, I want it to be able to be a tool where the teachers can go in and click the boxes they think they are. Well, if they think they're above basic, they can click, I'm above basic, I'm the next level up, or I'm the next level up. And then they have these pieces, and these pieces are things that the principals are looking for in their observations, in their walkthroughs, our district feedback loops, where we go out and do observations and collect data all around these same words. And so we're collecting a lot of data around that. So again, we got to streamline now. And my hope is that I've got permission from Kentucky Department of Education to get rid of school professional growth plan. Another form to fill out, so that people can do that and throw that up on the shelf or hide it in their computer and never see it again until I have to do something with it later in the year, because it's compliance. And so using this reflection document as the growth tool, my vision is that as coaches work with teachers, and they coach all the teachers in a building, and of course principals see them all, and I see all of them at least once a year, and some of them multiple times because of different trainings that we're doing in classrooms. But we'll be able to give feedback around those things. When a teacher thinks, I've kind of got that piece, I think I'm up a level on that, they can go into the system and click themselves up a notch. And they can change. When you fill out a professional growth plan, you got to say, I'm going to work on my questioning this year, and I'm going to work on my this year. And that might be something they're interested in August when they fill that thing out. But they get out into October, November, and they're like, man, I've got to do something more with this discussions, because my kids are not in it. I've got to get this set up better. And so that's their focus now. And so they've forgotten all about the other one, but they got to still mess with it because it's part of the thing. In this model, no problem. I'm going to go work on this piece. Go work on that piece. And when you think you can move yourself up a level, go in and click it. When you have your conferences with principals, then you can sit down and the principal can say, okay, what areas are you trying to grow in, and where do you think you are? Well, hey, up here in questioning, I've really worked on that, and I think I've moved myself up a notch. Then they can have a discussion about that. Yeah, you notice I've got notes about that. I noticed that your questioning was better based on my last observation of you than it was before. And so the teacher then is real time. They're able to go in and do it whenever they want to. It's not just something we do at the beginning of the year and again check off at the end. Try to build some, I don't know if I'm telling you what you want to know or not. I'm just talking about. So to build some more buy-in to this program idea of continuous improvement. That's the idea. Continuous improvement that's not compliance. I'm using the old Ford Motor Company's employee involvement plan model. And I'm taking this reflection document out to each grade level, and we're throwing it up there on the walls, and we're asking teachers to go there and mark on it. If there's stuff in there that doesn't make any sense to you, it's like, I don't even understand what that means. This doesn't really properly measure where I can be. For example, my kindergarten teacher said, this thing cuts us off. We can never get to be accomplished because the rubric for the kids we work with, the rubrics would stop with us there. Now, sometimes that might be a conversation of, well, no, maybe you're just not thinking about that right. Maybe you do these things, you're just not thinking about them. But I found a case where I see what they're talking about. It really they can never be above developing because they're training kindergartners to do certain things or working with them, and that's as high as they would get before they move on to first grade. And so we got to rethink that rubric for kindergartners. In fact, I envision us having a rubric of reflection rubric for the general population of teachers. We'll probably have a separate one for kindergarten, and we'll probably have a separate one for special education because this is a different world. And so we can't necessarily measure a special ed teacher with a rubric like that as we might measure an algebra teacher. There are many things that are the same, but there are some specific things that a special ed teacher does or manages that a regular teacher in the classroom doesn't have to. And so we can tailor those reflection tools to sort of match that person's expertise, their speciality in the school. So I sort of envision at the end of the day we'll end up with 2 or 3 of those reflection tools, but then that will be their continuous growth model. and it's something hopefully they own at the end, because they had a chance to sort of go in and say, well, I like this, I don't like that, this makes no sense to me, can you explain that more, can you fix that language? And Kristen has been super great to assign me a new representative who's going to help, who's going to rebuild that for me, because I don't have the capacity apparently to go in and put a checkbox by each one of those statements. It was a big task, because each one of those rubric statements has a box by it, and you can go in there and click on that box and move yourself up the lane. And I think that's the magic of it. And that was kind of something they had to sort of invent. They had to figure out, number one, how to do it. But then, like I said, the young lady who did it for me had some errors in it. But to her credit, it was also a big task. So, but I am excited about that, and we're running along with it this year. I don't hear a whole lot of problems with it anymore. Most of the problems we encounter are I forgot to click a button or something like that. I've left something out or whatever. Most of it's driver error at this point. The evaluation system is built. We're using the reflection document is going to be redone, and that's what I was talking about. I can't say that we have an evaluation system for them in terms of their process. In our conversation, of course, we offer training, update training each year on observations and how to properly observe and rate a teacher. So those are sort of those kind of things that we do on a regular basis. We here in Kentucky, we used to have to do that 3 times a year. They had to go in and watch videos and score teachers' progress and that kind of thing. And so we sort of carry that on. We don't do it 3 times a year now. We try to do it twice on the halves, so that principals can go back in and sort of calculate themselves to make sure that they are looking that what we're looking for is the same thing. There's not so much discrepancy within what one principal might rate a teacher's performance versus what another teacher might rate a performance. And we've been doing some book studies and things like that around some of the big pieces that we're working on. Again, trying to build that capacity of what does this look like and sound like in a classroom, and how do you know if it's good or bad? And but when it comes down to filling out a form, that's really a final rating is going to be based on the principal's observation. I built in the tool a couple of things. One, they have to go in and script some things in there. They have to put in evidence. I'm rating you developing, and here's why. Here's what I saw, and that connects back to the rubric that's in that area. Well, I also added a checklist of strategies are basically a part of the walkthrough document. So when the principal goes in there, they can add in anecdotal notes. They can also go down and say, I recognize these things, these things, these things. And all those things that are listed on the check boxes for each domain are proficient or better, or accomplished or better would be in the systems terminology. So if you go down and check some of those boxes, if you saw some of that stuff, then the teacher's got to be at least proficient overall, because you can't, those practices won't be there if they're not. So I guess that would be my only answer to that. I don't know if it's a good one or not, but it's interesting. Right. Uh, Mainly, it was our continuum, which is really this rubric. That's an expansive rubric. I mean, it's it's huge. It covers all components of teaching, and it has a rubric for each one. And so that is the work we train teachers with. As in Allen County schools, that is how we coach them. That's how we train them. And what I really wanted to do is to get that language into the evaluation system, because we're still using a different language. It's the same stuff, but it's different language. You know what I mean? I mean, Danielson framework, we match to the Danielson framework, but we don't. But the words may not necessarily be the same. We might not call it the same thing. And so the first thing I did was I built a sort of a bridge between Danielson's work and our work. We've been working with the Public Education Business Coalition out of Denver, Colorado, for about 6 or 7 years on thinking strategies and developing students' classroom, and developing classrooms around the workshop model, and building thinking into the classrooms. More student doing, less teacher talk, that kind of thing. So all that model is based on that. And because we know it's good research. Research tells us that's the way to be working with kids in classrooms now. Teachers stand up talking 50 minutes a day that's old business and not very good most of the time. So those rubrics are all built around that idea. And so the hope was that we could streamline the language, so that not only are we talking the talk and doing all this work with you during the course of the school year, your whole evaluation is based on it as well. So there's no difference. It's not like I'm serving two masters here, which is what we always end up doing in education. We serve too many masters. And you know, when you say you can be a joker, what is it they say? I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. And so hopefully this way it's one thing. It's not seen as, well, there's the evaluation, that's that thing, and then here's the stuff they coach us on and come and look for all the time. Now they're the same. Now they are the same. And I think that's a big step forward for us in terms of being able to do that. And, you know, TalentEd's platform allowed me to work on that and do that and build walkthroughs around that same document, observations around that same document, the teacher reflection piece around that same document, and the student voice piece. Will also be around that same document. So everything, all the data we pull in is going to be around that single set of things, and using the same language. And I think that's the critical piece. It's the same language. Well, that's the goal. We'll see what the end product is in terms of compliance versus engagement. I'll know more about it as we get about this time next year, I suppose, because we'll have used it for another. Because basically we did it this year, but like I said, it was wrong, and people signed off on it and didn't say a word about it. You know, so I have met with some of the grades. I'm scheduled to meet with everybody else in the coming 30 to 45 days, and so we'll then start to begin to shape this document anew, and then hopefully starting in May or June for sure, we can get back into TalentEd, the platform, and start working with, I think Shannon is my new representative consultant, Courtney Bush. Courtney Bush is my new consultant, and so Courtney's going to build this for me once we sort of get the language put back together and everything. So that's kind of where we are with it at this point. No, I don't think I have anything. I think I've pretty covered what I would think about it. You might prompt me with another question or two here and there if you have one, but other than that, I don't know what else to tell you. So what's this for?